Welcome to episode 6 of the Immortal Index here. Thank you so much for joining us again. We are 6 episodes in, guys. That is absolutely insane. I'm so glad that we've already knocked out 5. I do want to announce that we got that new intro. Thank you to Jonathan Moulton for a brand new intro video. Let me know what you guys think. I think it looks pretty freaking sick. I really like it a lot, so I'd love to hear your comments. Today, I'm going to be doing something a little different. Lately, I've been doing a lot of just purely Wuxia and Xianxia discussion, followed by a reading. Today, though, based on a lot of the YouTube comments I've been getting, I decided to dive a little bit down the rabbit hole on Wikipedia and other sources about the historical themes and the historical mythos behind and what inspired Xianxia novels. So I wanted to learn a few things, and based on what I learned and my interpretation of what I read, obviously it's going to change in the future as I become more and more knowledgeable, but this episode is going to be based on my introductory interpretation of researching the Eight Immortals. If you don't know who the Eight Immortals are, look it up. It's really cool. Honestly, I have the Wikipedia article for the concept as a whole down in the description if you want to click that. It's really cool to look into the individual ones and kind of see the themes that all of them pertain to in all the novels that we read today. Just to preface, I am definitely not an expert on Chinese or Taoist history. I'm learning this as I go, so this is my interpretation of the information. I'm not claiming to be 100% accurate, but feel free to be in the live chat or on the YouTube comments and correct anything I say if I say anything wrong, or if you want to expand upon something that I said, or talk about where you've seen these themes in the books that you read. Also, I don't speak Mandarin. Forgive any mispronunciations in the names. And also later on, I'll be doing the reading of Tian's novel, Sovereign of the Three Realms. It's currently being translated by Et Villar. So, first up, I'm going to probably butcher some of these names because these are hardcore, but let's just break down the 8 names of the 8 Immortals before I talk about them as a concept. Next episode, I'm going to be talking about them individually and some of the themes that they have that pertain to the novels we read. So this is kind of like a two-parter on the 8 Immortals. I know that a lot of people want to talk about some of the other stories that pertain to the historical mythos, but I felt like this was a good place to start because this is the most seemingly Western comparatively. Not that it's Western in nature, but more that we're so used to the Greek gods and we're so used to Christianity, and this is kind of a very easy bridge to go over them, to kind of compare them. So the 8 Immortals are He Xianju, Cao Zhuoju, Li Tuiguai, Lan Caihe, Lu Dongbin, Han Xiangxi, Zheng Guolao, and Zhong Li Chuan. So those are the 8 Immortals. I'm not sure how well I did with that. Deathblade will sure to send me a direct message and tell me that I butchered it or did well. We'll see. But first up, let's talk about the concept of these 8 Immortals, because I want to go in next week and talk about each one, because there's certain specifics to each one where they have a different personality trait, or they use a different tool because they have the 8 covert objects. That's something that you can also read up on the Wikipedia article that I'll talk about next week. But they all kind of have these themes around them, like necromancy or calligraphy or alchemy, or even creating weapons and that kind of stuff. It's really cool to see where the really cool themes within the Xianxia novels that we read are all kind of within these 8 Immortals. So I want to talk about the concept of them as a whole. So to do that, we have to take a look at religion in general, because obviously these 8 Immortals are icons that are used for storytelling within Taoism, which is the search for the Tao, the way. So when looking at religion in general, polytheistic and non-polytheistic religions both have icons within that aren't the creator, the God figure, but they're put on pedestals to be seen as figures to learn lessons through. So if you take Christianity, right? Christianity has Jesus, but we learn our lessons through Jesus. He's kind of like an icon, a figurehead of sorts, but he's he's less human because of the fact that he is the Son of God in Christianity. But you also have to see that it has the apostles. The apostles are the icons through which the stories are told. You hear about John the Apostle, Steve, the different apostles, and you hear about the stories they've done, and through those you learn values and morals, and you kind of learn different ways of life, which in a sense is what the Tao is. So when you talk about Taoism and it's finding the Tao, and you learn about Christianity and it's ways to live your life to be virtuous, it's similar in concept to a Tao of sorts. So, you know, the apostles are human, but through their deeds and fellowship, they're brought into the kingdom of God. But they never actually change their humanity until death, which is definitely a Christian concept that doesn't pertain to Taoism. So we'll circle back to that in a minute. But I also want to go into the Greek like mythology, the ancient Greek mythology with the pantheon of gods, with a blood hierarchy of like greater gods, lesser gods, half-bloods, full-bloods. So this is also kind of similar in a way, in that through the stories of the Greek gods and their interactions with humans, not humans becoming gods, and not humans doing stuff to get into heaven. This is more the Greek gods and their interactions with humans. The stories teach lessons to create the moral code of the time, but the gods were never human. So this is also in a way of using iconic principles such as Zeus and Aphrodite and all the different gods to create these stories that teach humans a lesson and create moralistic stories that preach the Tao in a way. So every religion has that sense of trying to push a moralistic standard or a way of living life standard, and Taoism is no different. And the interesting thing about Taoism, though, is that the Eight Immortals, which are just only 8 of the icons they use within it to tell stories and to create the legends and everything, they're all born human and become Xian, which are immortals. So that's the really interesting thing about these stories, is you have to realize that a lot of these Xianxia novels that we read are about a mortal's journey to immortality. So when you dive into the historical relationship between Taoism and these Xianxia novels, the Eight Immortals are such a huge theme, and they're such a huge inspiration for all these novels we read. So it's been really, really cool to dive in and like read about them. There's definitely a similar relationship between the immortals and the people and Greek gods and the people. But the difference is that the birth of the Greek gods remain largely untouchable, as they are just completely god figures. But the Eight Immortals, while still teaching the Tao or the path, are more of a goal to strive towards, as they were once human. As such, the godly figures all have aspects of humanity within them, which allows all sorts of different personality types to connect with. So, like, anyone who reads stories pertaining to the Eight Immortals, they have that they have a level of humanity that allows them to connect with them, whether it's Lu Dongbin or any of the other 7. Like, there is essences of humanity which allows the wider spectrum of people to connect with them on some level. So what that does is it allows people who practice Taoism to have something to strive towards. It provides a path to walk with morality, as well as kind of, you know, the lessons to abide by with their life. But it also creates a goal of, these are gods who were once human. I'm a human. I can become a god. I can become immortal. So it creates a goal to strive towards, as opposed to just this essence of, like, if you look at Christianity, where the goal to strive towards is more after death. Is after you die, if you do all these things, you go to the kingdom of heaven. This is more, you don't die, you ascend to become an immortal, which is above the earthly realms. So I think that's really cool, because it makes it more available to anyone, in terms of when you're reading these stories, anyone can connect with them. The other interesting thing is that they all attained immortality through different ways, which shows that not everyone needs to be the same to have a chance at becoming a Xian. So that's also a really cool aspect that allows a lot of people to harbor an interest towards these stories and these characters and these mythical beings. Basically, to simplify it, they are icons who teach the Tao, teach the way of life. So it's been really cool to like look at them as a concept and, you know, kind of apply this to and cross-reference it to like everything else that I've learned through my life and all of these different novels. So reading through the novels and noticing a lot of the different things that you see within the novels that pertain and are inspired by these different eight immortals, whether it's one or the other. One of the most common one that you'll see in all these novels is it's like the dog that bites Lu Dongbin, which is basically an idiom that they use to say like somebody's nice to you and you still stab them in the back. So that's the most common one, but that's when that's the most commonly seen name of one of the eight immortals that you see in these novels all the time. So as media shapes our interpretation of the world, you got to realize that back in the day, in the 16th century or even the 15th or 14th, like religious media, and I'm calling it media very lightly, it was the most widespread. Everyone believed in one religion or the other. So the Bible was the Western media per se. These were the stories that everyone told. These were the media. They were entertainment to some degree, but they were also religion, and they were also what people learned their lessons through. And the Eight Immortals are no different. They are the icons through which people learn their lesson. They were the media. So the legends really grew far and wide until today, where modern interpretations of the immortals, their different personalities, the different hijinks, adventures, situations, the themes like alchemy, magic, necromancy, instruments, medicinal pills, etc., they've all been adapted into these greater stories of today in the modern world that we know now as Xianxia. So now the question may be, well, I read Xianxia, but I haven't heard of the Eight Immortals. Were they really that influential? Yes. I didn't know this before last week. After reading it up, like they inspired almost everything. So please, if you have a chance, next week I'm going to be reading some brief notes on each one of them, and you'll be able to see like blatantly like how they pertain to some of these stories. But I definitely recommend you guys dive down the Wikipedia loophole, a rabbit hole of just like researching these, finding out about them, learning about them. If you have other ones that you want me to like research, hit me up in the comments and let me know, because it's been pretty cool. I gotta thank our YouTube commenters for telling me like, hey, look into the history so you can see how it really like has inspired these novels, because it does put a lot of puzzle pieces in place. So that was kind of my conversation for my main topic for the day. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching every day or every week. As always, please help me support the show by going to iTunes and subscribing and leaving a rating and comment. Ratings and comments help me tremendously. I do this all for free because I enjoy it. So actually, high ratings help other people find the show. You have no idea, like so many people in the United States, I'm sure, and outside of it, are a fan of these web novels, but they probably haven't figured out that there's a community, or even if they have, they don't really like look into it too much. They might be in the the novel updates community or the Reddit community, but I like communicating with people in the community on the YouTube and on my Twitter and stuff. So, you know, rating and helping them find the show really helps me out too. I think it was really cool. I got to give some fan shoutouts this week, but first I really want to thank YouTube user Potato China on YouTube. She added Chinese subtitles to the video of Why Do We Love Wuxia and Xianxia, which was really cool. And she posted on this Chinese website called Bilibili, bilibili.com, bilibili.com. And it's like a 4-minute video. She gave a brief description, and it's already got like 75,000 views over on that website and like 450 comments, which is really cool. That's really awesome that like people appreciate that, you know, everyone over here is starting to really get into this whole community and this whole like genre of wuxia and xianxia. So thank you so much to Potato China. Also, I want to thank Taibo Lee, Felix FB, Lin Zhongyu, Howard Z, Akashi Mao. All you guys are great. I really appreciate the comments every week. I like talking to you guys in the comments. Shout out to everyone in the live chats, Sled Gang ZZZ, Tab M. Thank you for watching live. Thank you for, you know, helping grow this show to what it be. Special thanks always to Deathblade because he helps me out when he can. Thanks to Guanzhong for that great interview last week. I'm definitely looking into having more guests in the future. And lastly, before I get into today's reading, I want to shout out Red Mirage on Twitter. He just released the second book of his series, Painting the Mists, on Amazon. He publishes the story for free on Royal Road Legends, but it's really cool to see original English Xianxia novels like Blue Phoenix. So if you're looking for a new read, you can go check it out and let him know what you think. He's pretty active on Twitter, promotes it. I just like supporting people who do original creations too, because that's what I am. I'm just like a podcast talking about this stuff. So the people actually are making it, that's really great that they've been so inspired to make their own. So again, that's Painting the Mists on Amazon by Red Mirage. Check him out on Twitter. Now, last week's poll was a vote on which novel I'd read today. The options, obviously, were Warlock of the Magus World, A Sovereign of the Three Realms, Song of Exile, and Returning from the Immortal World. I'm still really tempted to read Returning from the Immortal World because I've heard is hilarious. I also love Warlock Magus World. It's one of my favorites, even though a lot of people don't like it for some reason. But 43% of you have voted, and the winner is Sovereign of the Three Realms, which I'll be talking about here in just a second. I really like Sovereign of the Three Realms. So it's being translated by Et Villar, who does a really great job with it. It has a lot of text and a lot of descriptive words, plus it deals with a lot of sect politics and interesting uses of themes. So I can't imagine it being very easy for Etvo to actually translate the whole novel. But it has some really cool payoff moments. This is a novel that deals with a lot of slapping of the face. It deals with a lot of that whole providing face or taking face away kind of moments. If you don't know what loss of face or slapping of the face is, you can check out Deathblade. He has a great video that talks about that. He also talks about like swishing of the sleeves and kind of those weird like sayings that you hear a lot of. He can explain it in the time it takes for spark to fly off flint. So this novel has a lot of great hooks for a story, and I'm enjoying it. It starts very comedically. It doesn't stay as comedic as you would be first interpreted to think. It still does have those comedic moments, but let me just read for you the synopsis. But after we read the first chapter, you're going to think that this is a strictly comedy novel. It's not strictly comedy. It has some really great fights in it. It has some really cool moments in it. And it's a little bit OP in terms of kind of like Emperor's domination and that he knows everything. In this one, though, they make him OP enough that it's realistic, but not OP enough that he can't get killed. So it's like it's a good balance of him like knowing a lot in terms of he's got pre-existing knowledge of a lot of things, but he's also not as strong as, you know, a lot of people are. So let me read you the synopsis from Wuxia World. So Jiang Chen, son of the Heavenly Emperor, unexpectedly reincarnated into the body of a despised young noble, thus embarking on the path of the underdog, trouncing all comers. No one has the right to call himself a genius in front of Jiang Chen, as no one has a better understanding of the heavens than the son of the Heavenly Emperor. Genius, he who adheres to me shall ascend. Those who oppose me can find solace in hell. Custom translator synopsis: sentenced to death because of a farting in the first chapter. Enough said. Yeah, that's Etvo's little synopsis, which is pretty great. So a lot of the names we're using in this is Jiang, and then it's just a different surname. So like Chun or Ling or all sorts of that. So let's go ahead and give you my preface. Again, I am not a Chinese speaker. I live in California. I'm from North Carolina. I used to have an accent and talk like this because I was from North Carolina. So please forgive my mispronunciations of the words. I am working on it. Cool. So Sovereign of the Three Realms, Chapter 1, Son of the Celestial Emperor, Reincarnation and Rebirth. Jiang Chen felt like his brains were made of mush, as if he was in a dream, but this felt much more real than that. Every inch of skin, every bone in his body cried out in agony. Am I dead? Am I suffering through the fires of purgatory that burn in hell? Jiang Chen's first instinct was that he was dead, but the tenuous hint of breath in his body seemed to remind him otherwise, that he was still alive. After who knew how long, Jiang Chen suddenly forced his eyes open with a struggle, but found himself in a coffin. In a coffin? Then, am I really dead? Jiang Chen became depressed. How laughable. Jiang Chen, son of Celestial Emperor, was born with a yin constitution, and thus could not practice martial Tao. Even when Father refined the sun-moon pill so that I could enjoy life as long as the heavens exist, I still became Father's burden and succumbed to my death when the cataclysm descended from the heavens. What's going on with my meridians? There's true chi flowing through them. It's quite weak. Wait, this isn't my body. This is definitely not my body. I was born with a yin constitution, so how could I have a true chi present in my body? And if I was truly dead, how could there be true chi flowing through my body? It was as if an electrical jolt passed through Jiang Chen's brain as he lay in the coffin. At the same time, he realized that the body lying in the coffin didn't belong to him. What is this? Whose body is this? This unexpected discovery brought both surprise and joy to him. He quickly discovered a few fragments of memory in the body. This body's owner was also named Jiang Chen, the son of the Duke of the Jianghan province in the Eastern Kingdom. The name is right, but this is obviously not me. I'm the son of the almighty Celestial Emperor. How did I become the scion of such a mundane kingdom? Jiang Chen's mind was filled with questions. Did I really die in the cataclysm? Is this the reincarnation referred to in legends? The heavens were shattered and the wheel of life smashed. I should have been annihilated in the cataclysm with no hope of traveling along the wheel of life. So this means I've really reincarnated? Jiang Chen finally confirmed this new reality after perusing the fragments of the past Jiang Chen's consciousness. To think that I was the exalted son of the Celestial Emperor in my past life, yet was barred from cultivating due to my yin constitution. Yet now that I've reincarnated into the son of the Duke of such a humdrum kingdom, I've gained the potential to train. The irony. The heavens were shattered and order crumbled. I, Jiang Chen, lived 1,000,000 years in vain in my past life. Although I died with the sun and moon, I couldn't offer any help when the cataclysm arrived. A yin constitution cannot train, and thus is doomed to always be at the mercy of others. My fate was like that of a floating speck of dust, easily dispelled as the wind blew. Jiang Chen grew somber, lost in his thoughts as he thought of the treatment he'd suffered in his past life, and of his father who had developed the sun-moon pill at such a great cost so that his son's mortal body could enjoy life as long as the sun moons. He knew that this life and death separation was possibly an eternal farewell, even though he'd lived 1,000,000 years, even though he possessed great intelligence. When he thought of his father, the Celestial Emperor, painstakingly taking care of him, hot tears still spilled out of his eyes. He knew the heavens were shattered. Even if one were as almighty as the Celestial Empire, it was almost impossible to survive the cataclysm. Jiang Chen became upset as his thoughts traveled to the end of his path. However, it was as if a bolt of thunder crashed into his soul when his soul touched upon his body's meridians. It was like a man dying of thirst finding a sweet spring. The slowly moving true chi was so weak to the point of almost flickering out. But it was this fragile hint of true chi that stoked his flames of life and swept away those depressing thoughts. Train. Cultivated. This was once a ludicrous thought for someone with a yin constitution like mine. I couldn't train in my past life, but never acceded to fate. Now that I've gained the potential to train due to reincarnation, is this not an opening that the door of fate has cracked open for me? I was the exalted son of the Celestial Emperor and held charge of the Tian library for millions of years. I've perused countless books and scrolls. I was familiar with all discipline and methods of training. I was unparalleled and renowned through the accomplishments in the Tao of alchemy, but my knowledge was forever halted and just theoretical at an abstract level. Now that I've gained the ability to train thanks to reincarnation, what cause have I to fear? For what reason would I, Jiang Chen, bow my head in defeat? Jiang Chen felt a weight lift off his shoulders as he explored this line of reasoning. Those negative emotions he had slowly disappeared. He felt like this reincarnation was a turning point that would interminably change his life. Indeed, from the perspective of Xianxia's past life, the identity of the son of an ordinary noble was completely inconsequential. But even the lowliest person possessed one quality that he did not in his past life, and that was the qualification to cultivate. The qualification to cultivate was like a starting line of a race. Although he is an eminent person in his past life, as lofty as dragons and phoenixes, he could only watch on the sidelines. Now, despite his commonness in his current life, despite being like an ant, he had the qualification to step up to the starting line and take his place. The path of training was ceaseless and boundless. As long as one had good fortune, one could transform and become all-powerful. Even wings could be stuck onto ants for them to soar in the heavens. And now an opportunity had come. Son of the Celestial Emperor, keeper of the Tian library, he had devoted his millions of years of life almost entirely to studying. It would be no exaggeration to say that he was a walking encyclopedia and grasped the world's knowledge. His belly full of theories spanning from the divine heavens to common dirt, there was no topic that Xianxia was unfamiliar with. Although Xianxia could not train in the many boring years of his past life, he loved to take in disciples and conduct experiments with them. Testing out one theory or another, he'd lost track of how many prodigies he'd created in his lifetime. What was opportunity? He had reincarnated with the memories of the son of the Celestial Emperor and had gained the body of the unfortunate dukedom heir Xianxia. Those experiments he had conducted on his disciples could finally now be acted out with his own hands. This was opportunity. Xianxia could hardly contain himself. At this moment, a striking crash sounded as if something had slipped and cracked. Jiang Ying, figure it out! Find out at all costs! Zhang Feng, the Duke of the Zhongheng, furiously smashed a vase, almost wishing to burn down the kingdom in his rage. Your lordship, we already have a clue, Jiang Ying spoke respectfully, dressed from head to toe in black. Although the young master was not a diligent in training, he was still a fighter of the true chi level. His control over his body would be absolute. In the face of an important occasion, he would not have lost control and passed gas. Then someone is behind all this. Someone intentionally wanted to embarrass Chunar during the rites of heavenly worship so that he would enrage the king and be executed? Zhang Feng's tone had descended to a dangerous point. The young master ate breakfast with friends at Autumn Crane this morning. I did not discover anything when I investigated Autumn Crane, but found traces of 3-laugh powder in the young master's body. 3-laugh powder? Zhang Feng's face darkened. How would he not know what the 3-laugh powder was? This item cleared up a person's internal passages. While it did not have any side effects, it would cause a person's chi to sink throughout their body and be emitted from all parts of their body. His son's damnable gas expulsion that enraged the king during the rites of heavenly worship was not out of nowhere. It was definitely due to this 3-laugh powder. It seems that instead of being a coincidence, this was a devious, premeditated plot. Zhang Feng easily came to this conclusion after connecting the dots. Your lordship, here's a list of whom the young master had breakfast with. However, they're all sons of the other dukes, so it would be difficult to find out who's responsible. Jiang Ying was Zhang Feng's right-hand man and his most valued and loyal vassal. Go thoroughly investigate this matter. Even if I lose my dukedom, even if I'm a man torn asunder, I will not idly sit by while my son has been killed. Zhang Feng didn't believe the crap of absolute obedience to one's overlord. Utter drivel. Generations of the Jiang family had been loyal, but not stupidly loyal. The Jiang family had toiled ceaselessly for the Eastern Kingdom royal family for generations, defending the land, fighting in wars, and steadfastly holding their stations. They had won their sole dukedom at high cost, but now his only son was unceremoniously caned to death. A vassal had no need to be loyal if the overlord was not kind. If it came down to it, rebellion then. It felt as if a volcano was on the verge of erupting in his chest whenever Zhang Feng thought of King Eastern Lu's cold expression as he gave the order to kill, the sight of his enemies gloating in that moment, or the son that had been beaten beyond recognition as he lay in his coffin. He itched to immediately return to his territory and stampede into the capital with hundreds of thousands under his banner, to let rivers of blood flow in the streets. Upon hearing these words, combined with the vague memories left in the body, Xianxia roughly understood what had happened. It turned out that the original owner of this body had the unfortunate timing to fart during the rites of heavenly worship. These rites were hosted by the most sacred temple in the country and attended by the king and all 108 Eastern Kingdom nobles in order to pray for King Eastern Lu's beloved daughter. The king and his nobles had commenced many preparations before the rites were held, such as foregoing meat, bathing, and changing into fresh clothes, as well as burning lavender incense. In other words, everyone had cleaned up nicely and was striving for perfection in order to convince the heavens of their sincerity to succeed in obtaining blessings. Everything was proceeding smoothly at first, But just as the king and his nobles had kowtowed on the temple steps in prayer, Xianxia let out an ear-splitting fart. One that had to know that kowtowing in prayer was the most important part of the entire rite. Absolute silence needed to be maintained during this part. This was how one could communicate with the gods and demonstrate their devotion. However, Xianxia's fart rudely broke this silence and shattered this dignified gathering. Everyone knew that farts were comprised of unhealthy gas and were extremely unsound. If this had happened during a regular occasion, it would have been simply passed over as someone else held their breath. However, Xianxia's regrettable fart was smelly and long. It was an affront to the gods. The high priest in charge of the rite's proceeding was appalled and started cursing loudly, as if the fart had destroyed the pillar of the world and was causing the sky to cave in. This aroused the great wrath of King Eastern Lu as he doted on his beloved daughter and he called for the guards to drag Xianxia away and beat him to death. Even then, his anger was not abated, and he gave the order to hang Xianxia's corpse on the city wall for vultures and scavengers to pick on. Xianxia wouldn't even have had a body left if the kingdom's nobles didn't persuade the king otherwise, pointing out that openly displaying a corpse was vulgar and uncivilized and would adversely impact the kingdom's fortunes. Chapter 2. All right, so that was Chapter 1, guys. It was pretty fun. Honestly, like, it's a fun story. You can tell that there's like hints of humor in there, but they're also like talking about beating somebody to death with a cane. Like, it has its moments. Obviously, it's kind of cool. The story revolves around obviously Xianxia, who is the son of the Celestial Emperor. But after the cataclysm, which you don't really know what that is, just the cataclysm of whatever his previous life was, he was thrown into the cycle of reincarnation, ended up in somebody of the same name, but was kind of a silk pants, and by people's plotting, ended up being poisoned with something that would make him fart during a very sacred ceremony. So everything kind of goes from there, but it's really cool seeing him figure out kind of, because he's in like basically a backwater area of the world, trying to cultivate with a lack of resources, but then competing against people who are born with a golden spoon in their mouth, all that kind of stuff. So the story develops from there. It gets really good. I'm already caught up on it right now, so that means I'm on like almost chapter 1,000, which is really cool. So we're almost 1,000 chapters into the translation. So if you're into that, if you like the chapter 1, if you like the synopsis, definitely check it out. It's one that I'm reading consistently, so you should look into it. Now, that was our reading for today, but I also definitely want to shout out again at Valer. Go follow them on Twitter at Valer Novels and at Valer to keep in touch with all the great stuff they're doing, because they really do a great job of translating that novel. Really quick, obviously we had last week's poll. I want to talk about this week's poll. This week's poll is, I want to start a battle between you guys. So I want to start a battle of who likes what ancient mythic beast more. So which of the 4 symbols, which of the 4 mythological beasts is your favorite? The options are the azure dragon, the white tiger, the black turtle, or the vermilion phoenix. I want to know who y'all are voting for, because this is one of those where, you know, everyone who's outside of this genre is probably going to be like, well, obviously I like dragons, but not true, because the phoenix is such a huge part of a lot of these novels. It's used so widely with a lot of our favorite characters, with phoenix blood and like all that kind of stuff. But then you also go to the Xuanwu turtle with the black turtle, and he's used a lot too. It's really cool in A Will Eternal. You see it a lot with Patriarch Reliance in I Shall See the Heavens, but then you go to the white tiger and you have all sorts of references there too. So you know what, I mean, Tab M in the chat already says black turtle. I'm interested to see what everyone else thinks. So that's pretty much our show today, guys. I still have 4 more codes for T.A. Miles's book, The Six Celestial Swords. If you want the first book on Audible, you can get it for free. It's like a $20 value. Just hit me up on Twitter, DM me, or send me a message on YouTube, and I'll hook you up with a code to download that for free. It's The Six Celestial Swords. It's another inspired by Journey to the West kind of Xianxia novel. So check it out. Sled Gang ZZZ in the chat says White Tiger Master Race. And yeah, I love you guys in the chat. Thanks for joining me today. That's our show, guys. As always, please subscribe, like this video, follow me on Twitter at Immortal Index. Check out the SoundCloud at Immortal Index Podcast. Check out the YouTube at youtube.com/Immortal Index Podcast. Cause guys, I got my own custom URL on YouTube. Woo! We hit 120 subscribers, so we're up there. I was able to get it, and now I even have. Let's take a look. How many subscribers do I have today? Because literally 6 weeks in, I have 163 subscribers. You guys are the best. You guys just rock. Honestly, you just rock. So, thank you again. Again, shout out to Potato China on YouTube for subtitling that video and sharing it on Bilibili. We will see you guys next week. I'll be talking about the 8 Immortals individually, and then I haven't decided what novel I'm going to do the reading of, so hit me up. Let me know if you have any suggestions. I'm really kind of interested in returning from the immortal world, but we'll see. If you guys give me something better, I'll do it. So hit me up. Thank you. We will see you next Tuesday for episode 7 of the Immortal Index. Check you later.